Hi everybody! In this video, I'm just going to walk you through step-by-step process of solving the SAT reading main idea problems. So these are the problems that are going to be asking you to summarize a passage, to summarize a character in a particular passage, to explain the meaning of an underlined sentence in the context of the entire passage, that type of thing. And you're typically going to find them right after your vocab words and right before you hit your science reading questions. And so I'm just gonna quickly talk through what you should do step by step, and then I'm gonna solve a couple of problems using these steps. So first off, you want to read the question, and then you want to read the passage. After you've read the passage, then you're going to go ahead and create your own answer. You've already read the question, you've already read the passage. Create and form your own answer, and then fourth, compare it to the answers that they've already provided you with and pick the right one. I know that sounds pretty simple, so I'm just going to go ahead and solve a couple questions using those steps so you can see that it actually works. It's been a while since I've looked at any of these questions, so I'm solving them pretty fresh and impromptu. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope it helps you to be able to solve those problems too. Okay, so this is our first passage. So as just a reminder, first you read the question, then you read the passage, create your own answer, and then you look at the answers. So let's go ahead and do that. Reading the question. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined sentence in the text as a whole? So you can see over here, there's an underlined sentence. Let's read the passage. In the 1950s, scientists didn't know much about the ocean floor. Many scientists at the time believed that the ocean floor was mostly flat, but geologist Marie Tharp and her research partner Bruce Heisen proved that this idea was wrong. Using sonar data collected from the Atlantic Ocean, Tharp and Heisen showed that the floor was filled with canyons, mountains, and valleys. Okay, so what is the function of that underlined sentence? Well, if you look here, you can tell it's a common misconception. Scientists originally didn't know much about the ocean floor. They believed that it was flat. But then these researchers came along and proved that this idea was wrong. The ocean floor was not flat. It was actually filled with canyons, mountains, and valleys, etc. Okay, so basically our answer is going to be like, this is a common misconception. This was something wrong that the researchers then proved wrong. So let's go ahead and look at the answers. It's a scientific belief that Tharp and Heisen showed to be wrong. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and read the other three just to show that there's no other that meets what we're looking for. It describes the design of Tharp and Heisen's experiment. Doesn't do that in the slightest. And it emphasizes the disagreement between Tharp and Heisen. Also doesn't do that. Tharp and Heisen were working together. It presents data to support a claim that Tharp and Heisen made. No, in fact, this would go exactly against their claim. So, yeah, that's definitely the answer. Let's go and move on. All right. Same thing here. Which choice best describes the function of the underlined phrase in the text as a whole? All right, let's read that text. In the early days of television in the 1940s, many people thought that U.S. television programs would rely on the financial support of ad agencies and commercial sponsors, much like radio did. The advertisers hesitated to jump into a new space, particularly at a time when the manufacturing of new television sets was stalled due to the U.S. involvement in World War II. Broadcasters like the National Broadcasting Company needed to persuade advertisers to support their programming despite not knowing whether there would be a robust television audience to begin with. Okay, so it's talking about general idea in this passage. Many people thought that used television programs rely on the financial support of ad agencies, but because of World War II, according to the underlined sentence, broadcasters were kind of hesitant, or the ad companies were kind of hesitant to jump in. So they needed to figure out a way to fix this problem. So this sentence is kind of the original problem that these television programs were running into against. They needed to find a way to solve. So let's go ahead and look at the answers. It compares the beginnings of radio programming with the beginning of television programming in the United States. It's choice A. No, not really. It doesn't even mention in that underlined sentence radio programming. It identifies a specific reason behind some advertisers' hesitance to support television, because it says that the manufacturing of new television sets was stalled, so you wouldn't want to be making televisions that time. Okay, it says describes how broadcasters attempted to convince advertisers to support televisions. Doesn't say that. It's kind of more like the sentence is following. It says that explains why a type of television programming was popular at the time. Doesn't do that. Kind of honestly would seem to indicate opposite. So that's definitely our answer. Go ahead and move on. Main purpose of the text. All right, let's read and then summarize. Pteropods are small swimming snails with thin, delicate calcium carbonate shells. These animals are thought to be especially vulnerable to ocean acidification due to calcium carbonate's susceptibility to dissolution at lower pH values. Victoria L. Peck and colleagues recently found that Perioscrocum, I'm totally butchered that word, a protective coating on pteropods' outer shells prevents this dissolution when intact. Moreover, the team was surprised to discover that even when the Perioscrocum is breached, pteropods can still mitigate damage by rebuilding this inner shell wall. Okay, so it's basically telling you these pteropods are very vulnerable and their shells can dissolve in lower pH values. But what they've discovered is that there's a protective coating called periostracum, and even when that gets dissolved, pteropods can still mitigate the damage. So like they have kind of two ways to fight against this lower pH system. So that's kind of the idea of the text. It's about the study that these researchers did in order to find out why these snails are still staying intact despite having their shells dissolve because of low pH values. Okay, so let's go and read the answers. To call for additional research on biological mechanisms that improve pteropod survival rates. Doesn't make a call for that at all, certainly not the main purpose. To discuss a conclusion drawn in a study of calcium carbonate's role in protecting the periostracum of pteropods. It doesn't really draw a conclusion, it just talks about a discovery. So yeah, to address some of the ways ocean acidification has altered pteropod behavior over time. Doesn't talk about how the behavior has been altered. Just makes a discovery these things have always been. It says to present findings that suggest they're concerned about the effects of ocean acidification on pteropod shells may be unwarranted. Well, this is definitely the case because it's been discovered that there's a second way to mitigate this because they can end up rebuilding their shell wall. Like they're, as I was talking about, they have two defense mechanisms, and that's kind of the whole idea of the passage. So that's definitely our answer. Let's go and move on to, I guess that's all for this section. So yeah, that's how you would solve these main purpose problems. Okay, I hope you found that video helpful, and if you did, you can find a lot of other step-by-step SAT videos on my channel, so please subscribe. This is a part of my college application process, and so it's going to be on the activities section, and you can help me make it a bigger part by engaging with my channel and helping me pay for college by helping me monetize my channel. So yeah, please engage. If you have any questions, then leave those in the comments below and I will get back to you. If you have any ideas for future videos, also leave those in the comments because I am looking for more ideas. This channel is for you guys and I want to create the content that you need for your SAT. So yeah, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck on SAT reading and I'll see you again next time.